Welcome back to Mrs. Olson's Retro Repair Shop. I am in my office today. I had a thought. I want to share it with you. I have a theory that there is one instrument that is better for teaching band than any other instrument. It is the most practical, well-rounded instrument that allows you to pretty much do anything, and I'm going to tell you what it is and the reasons why. It's baritone. But Mrs. Olson, baritone isn't my instrument. Doesn't matter! It's the perfect teaching instrument! Reason 1. It has a bigger mouthpiece than trumpet, or horn, which was my instrument technically, so your face does not get as exhausted from playing it all day long. And we have block classes where I teach, so sometimes I am in rehearsal for like 140 straight minutes, and if I'm playing a lot, that is a ton of playing. Reason number 2, the baritone / euphonium is the best teaching instrument ever, is that you don't crack notes as much. You can go right into playing it without a full warm-up, and at least in my experience, I have a higher rate of success of jumping in cold playing baritone than I do on trumpet or any woodwind instrument that requires like reed setup. You're in the moment, you need to demo something, you haven't played yet that day, you have rehearsal first thing in the day, a kid needs something demoed, you go to your trusty baritone, and usually you can play within a pretty decent range without having warmed up on the baritone, at least in my experience. Reason number 3, it can be played with one hand. Now, I know I shouldn't do this, but there's a brace right here, and I can cue, so I'm playing, I can cue, I can turn pages, I can sort of conduct, I can be like, ready now, boom, back to playing. And it gives me that mobility. If you're playing saxophone or clarinet or flute, you cannot take your other hand off unless you're like holding a whole note on G or something. You need that other hand to be able to do other things so you can multitask. And the last reason this is the best instrument in my opinion for teaching is it is easy to play almost any kid's part without having to do a ton of transposition in your head. And what I mean by that is there's kind of some tricks you can do to make this instrument the universal instrument. Except for a couple instruments, which we'll talk about. Flutes, piccolo, mallets, you can just read the note name and then play the correct note name on the baritone. Like, if the mallets have an A, you just play an A in baritone land, and it's gonna sound the same, because it's concert pitch. For clarinet, tenor sax, trumpet, I think that's all of them, you just pretend you're playing trumpet, because it's the same setup. For E-flat, alto, and bari saxes, you just pretend you're reading bass clef, and then you just change the key signature. Obviously, for your baritones and your euphoniums, you're covered. Trombone is covered, being in the same clef. If you have treble clef baritones, you just pretend you're reading trumpet, although you should make them play bass clef. And for tuba, you just play it as is, and it sounds up an octave. So there you go. And I have no good tricks for putting it in the key of F with your French horns and your English horns, so you just have to transpose that one. Thanks for watching this video. If you have any differing opinions of an instrument that you prefer to use as your primary teaching instrument, please feel free to comment below. And to all my band kids that are probably watching this, you don't get to have an opinion. Just kidding. Okay, bye!